Hey there. So a lot of people have been asking what Revolution is all about, and I haven't actually done a video where it explains from the beginning to the end what the whole point of this thing is and how it all works. So we're going to start by walking through putting together my favorite robot, which is of course 6. We have 2 other robots over here. This is Rolly, which is our rover style robot, and then we have another one which is our JD. He is our humanoid style robot. And the concept of Revolution is the parts have a clip on them, which allows you to connect them together. So if you imagine Lego for robotics, that's essentially what we've created. The brain of your robot, as we look under here, is the EZB. This is the robot controller that we've created that connects your servos and your cameras and all other parts to. And it plugs into your body, which has, each battery has a battery inside of it. So when you power it up and connect to it, the Wi-Fi antenna will connect either to your local network, or you can connect to it from your computer or from your mobile device, such as an iPhone or an iPad. The camera plugs into the top here, and then your servos and sensors plug in around it. So this may look kind of confusing with all these wires and with a circuit board under here in the plastic. But what we've done is we've actually made the software explain to you in great detail on how to plug and hook a robot together. So I'm going to show you the software and show you how we can actually put a robot together. Okay, so can you see my screen okay? Just kidding, come on up. So this is our software, which is called Easy Builder. You can get it from our website, it's free. And the concept behind Easy Builder is that we know people aren't programmers, but you have an idea of a robot you want to create. So whether you want to use a robot we've already created for you, or you want to design your own, we've taken both considerations into account. For example, if I were to load up one of the example robots, such as my favorite guy 6 here, I can select that robot. And because it's built with our parts, which are these clippable components, which we refer to as easy bits, it asks me if I want to see how to put this together. So I can say yes, and I'm given a 3-dimensional view of every part and how they connect together. Each piece also shows you where on the circuit board, on the EZB circuit board, they connect to also. So each one of these ports on the circuit board have labels beside them. If you don't have one of the parts and you want to build a robot, there's a shopping cart button next to it which you can click on it and it'll bring you to our website and you can actually buy that part and we'll deliver it to you. Otherwise, some people might have 3D printers, and if you're one of those lucky people who do, each component, when you click on the information button, presents you with a 3-dimensional view of that part, and now I have a 3D print button next to each part that can be 3D printed. So for example, if I were to grab this servo here, you'll see that the top and sides have been 3D printed. So if you don't have a 3D printer, again, you can buy these from our website directly. So all these parts clip together, much like I showed you here. This is one of our extension pieces. An extension piece has female clips all around, male clips, so you can clip all these components together and create some unique configurations. So once we walk through this process here, eventually you'll see that the robot comes together and you can see that it becomes an actual robot. So I'm going to close this down, and now we're going to power up our EZB. So we'll turn on our robot, connect our top piece. So when you hear that chime, that means that the robot is powered up and the Wi-Fi is on. So under your Wi-Fi networks, you'll be able to connect to it and you'll see it show up. So in this case, this one is called the EZB V4. So we'll connect to it. So now, pushing the connect button here, now the robot and the computer are connected together. So with this control, this is just a basic control called an auto position, I can now make the robot stand up, and I can make it start turning, and walk forward and backwards, etc. Now each of these positions that the robot's moving into is something called an auto position. So when I click on here, I'm given a view of what my robot looks like. I can now select what's called frames. So when you think of how animation in a cartoon works, is that there's multiple frames. We do the same thing with the robotics. So each one of these parts can actually be moved. So for example, I create a new frame called AA1, in which case I can move the servo in real time. So if I were to move that servo, and now these, I've just created a new frame. So now I can create another frame, call it AA2. So under here, I can now take these servos and move them over to the other side. Okay, so now I have these two frames, and I'm going to link them together as an action. So an action is multiple frames linked together. So this is your script, your movie script. So we're going to call it Our Dance. Now, Our Dance is not going to be super creative, but it is going to dance. So I'm going to select our AA1 and AA2. I'm going to put them in. And then when it's done, the dance, I'm going to go back into standing position. So let's initialize it, go back and stop. So now when I click on Our Dance here, the robot will do our little dance. So you want to add more controls to this robot to make it start doing more stuff. So we provide hundreds of controls that allow you to be able to add more interaction with the world, such as cameras and speech recognition and Wii controllers. I mean, the list goes on. We have everything from GPS controls to Twitter accounts. You can create a Twitter account for your robot, and you can actually talk to your robot over your Twitter account. So in this case, I'm going to add the camera. So we're going to connect to the camera, which is on top of the robot right here. And I'm going to show you how when the robot sees, for example, this red ball, it will do our dance. So I'm going to start the camera, and on the screen here, I'm not sure if you can see the camera guy. Here, Jason, say hi.
Hi.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a tracking value for a color. So I choose color. Now under color, I can specify what color I want to detect. In this case, I want to detect the color red. So when I put the ball in front of the robot, I can adjust how much red I want to detect. And there we go. So now you can see that the robot can detect the red ball. So now we want to make it do the dance when it sees the ball. So every control has a little control button here, a little gear. And when you push that gear, it brings you to an interface which allows you to specify parameters for that control. So in this case, we want it to start doing something when it detects an object. So there's a value here called tracking start. When I click on that, I can start typing, and it will show me all the commands that are available. Or I can look on the right and see all the commands available, plus with help. Or there's something called control details. What this does is it analyzes your entire project and creates code for you based upon something that it thinks it can do. So we want it to do our dance. So if you scroll through, we'll see Our Dance is here. We'll click on it, and there it is. We also want a robot to speak. So I'm going to type in a command here and say, I am doing our dance. I save that. So now when I put this ball in front of the robot's going to speak and do our dance. Are you ready?
I am doing our dance.
So I'm not sure if you picked it up on the microphone or not, but the robot spoke and said, I am doing our dance. So we'll try it one more time.
I am doing our dance.
There you go. So the sound actually came out of the robot. There's multiple ways to make your robot make noise too. For example, there's a control here called an soundboard EZB, which allows you to actually add MP3 files and play them on your robot. So I don't think I have any MP3 files on this computer. I do not, so I can't demo that. You can also, using this, is something called a microphone. So the microphone actually allows you to talk into a microphone on your computer, and the sound comes out your robot too. So you can sneak up on somebody and speak to them through the microphone. This project that I've just created is now running on a computer, but you're going to want to run this project on your mobile phone. So what we've done is we've created another control here called the Mobile Interface Builder. So this allows you to be able to actually create your own interface for your mobile app. So you can create your own app. So for example, I can put a forward button here and a right button over here and a down button here. And I can add a camera view over here. And I can adjust the size of all these different objects. So that when I create this interface, I can actually load that up on my phone. So I'm going to load up here a project that I've already created that has a mobile interface on it. So here it is here. So this is the generic app, which has everything from a microphone and a Wii controller. It even actually has an MP3 board here where I can play sound effects I've already recorded on the robot. Okay, so when I switch over to a different interface here, I can now see the interface for the mobile app. So this is what I've created for the mobile app. So now I'm going to show you the actual mobile app on my phone. So when I load this up, you'll see what I've created is actually the same app that's running on there. And you can see here I'm connected to the robot. So you'll see me wave in front of the camera. And I have different buttons. Now, when we go back to our program here, you see all the controls we have. If I push one of the buttons I have here called Show Desktop, you now see that they're exactly the same. So on my phone, I'm actually running the exact same program that's on here, but it's on my phone. So any apps you create on here become an app on your phone. So we've turned everybody into an app developer. If you can literally use a mouse with no programming, you can just drag and drop stuff on the screen and create your own app. So if you create a robot of your own, you can create your own app, you can save it to the cloud, you can go to school, you can go to work, you can go show your friends and say, look, I made my own app. And you're not lying, you truly did. So that's something that we're really proud of being able to allow people to do. So now I'm going to talk about the robots and how they work. And we're going to get inside and actually find out what's under the hood. So the three robots that we have that I've already introduced to you, for example, JD, the Rolly, stand up, JD, Rolly, and Six. These three robots are starters, which means that from here, you can start creating and adding your own parts. For example, I can disconnect JD's arm, and I can connect it to a slot here on Six, and give Six a claw, right? I can take, if I wanted to, take JD's head off, and I could attach it to the top of Six if I wanted. So we only have the three here to actually show you because we keep having to send them out to magazines because we're getting so much attention lately, which of course is really awesome. But we don't have a lot of robots here to play with. So we try to keep a few that we can actually show people when they come in. So this guy here, I'm going to turn him off. And I'm going to show you and take them apart and show you what's under the hood. So this piece on top here is the camera. This is a camera that is color camera that has a 32-bit microprocessor running at 120 megahertz, actually. It's an ARM processor in here. So it does all the video encoding and it sends it over the wire to the EZB, which allows it to appear on your computer or on your phone. So this can connect to the EZB and it'll give your robot vision. The next is the EZB, which is the brain of the robot. And the brain connects into your body of the robot. There's pins on the bottom which protect the power pin. The power pin connects to the inside of the robot here, so when you slide it in, the board gets power from the battery that's inside of here. When I remove it and take it out, I can show you a little bit about the features of this without getting into the internals, which I'll show you in a second. So on the bottom of the base here is a speaker, which gives your robot audio. The amplification is actually done through the bodies of these robots, through little holes that are inside of them. So each of these robots have a hole, which the sound travels through, and it uses the shell to amplify the audio of the volume. So you can make your robot a lot louder than it would be with just a tiny little speaker. Also on top of here, these are your ADC ports. So these are ports that are for analog input. And of course on our website we have tons of tutorials that walk you through and explain to you what each of these ports mean and how do they work. All of our easy bits are peripherals that plug into here, so it's quite easy to use. All of these ports are servo ports. In this case, I have just generic servos plugged into them. I can pull them out here and show you what the board looks like that. There's a little pin, a little hole pin here, and if you push that, that will actually reset your Wi-Fi connection. So let's say you had this connected to your home network, and you went to your friend's house and you wanted to connect to it as a ad hoc, which means you connect your device directly to it. So you're going to want to push that button and reset it. On here is also a web server, so you can connect to it through your web browser, like Chrome or Internet Explorer, and you can configure settings inside of here on how it connects and how it works. And I'll show you what's inside of it. This is the actual EZB brain. It's two circuit boards sandwiched together. And there's a lot of engineering inside of this. It's taken us a year to create. It incorporates technology from our last EZB, which was the V3. This little board has a couple hundred megahertz of processing power. It has two 32-bit processors on it. On the bottom board is the main brain. That's a 32-bit ARM processor running at 120 megahertz, and it controls all your I/O. On the top, we have another chip, which is your Wi-Fi module. It also has another chip on top of it that is another 80 megahertz chip, which runs our TCP stack, and the web server, so all the data communication. It also handles the camera, which has its own 32-bit processor, like we mentioned earlier. The power supply on this is actually a digital power supply. So it uses a switching model rather than a linear voltage regulator model. So when you think of how power is usually dissipated or lowered, so if you had 12 volts and you want to lower it down to 3 or down to 5, normally they remove the energy by heat, they dissipate it with heat, and then they give you the voltage you want. What we do is we actually created a power supply, which is super efficient, and it uses a switching power supply model. So it actually is more efficient than dissipating heat. So it generates almost no heat and very little line noise too. So it's a very powerful power supply. There's also circuit protection on every pin. So every pin on the EZB is actually circuit protected, so that if you were to connect something to it accidentally, it won't damage the board. So I showed you what was inside of the robot, and now I'm going to show you how we actually can design your own robot, not just by clipping parts together, but creating it in 3D on the actual software. So when you take parts and clip them together, you're going to want to share your design, such as adding a claw to this 6. You want to share that design with anyone else in the world. So I'm going to start a new project here. I'm going to click on New, say Yes. And under Project, I'm going to select Design Mode. So under Design Mode, I am now given a drop-down of all the different parts, which are easy bits, that you can buy from our store or that you can 3D print. So I'm going to choose the body of our humanoid JD. I'm now going to choose a head for JD, and I'm going to select that onto it, and I'm just going to attach these parts together. Now I'm going to select some servos and another servo. And as you can see, I'm starting to build the robot in 3D using parts that can be 3D printed or purchased. There we go. I'm just going to go that far. I'm not going to create the whole guy. So if I were to create a custom configuration using this 3D designer, I can now save this to the cloud, which means I've saved it to the entire world, and anyone in the world has access to it. When they load that project up, that robot we created, they're going to be given the same instructions like you saw at the beginning of this video, where they can see a demo of how to click and connect each part together to recreate that robot that you've created. That way, your app works with their configuration, and your configuration are the same. You can customize that person's app by starting to add more controls. If that person created a control, for example, speech recognition, and you want your robot to also have color tracking or understand human faces, then you can add the camera control and customize that configuration and resave it and contribute to somebody else's idea. So there's a bunch of different controls you can add to Easy Builder to customize what you want your robot to do. I'm going to add a few controls here just to give you a demo of some of the different things you can do with it really easily. So for example, under Add Controls, I'm going to choose the microphone control. This allows me to be able to use the microphone on my computer or my mobile device and talk directly to the robot, have it come out the speaker. So here's the microphone, and I have a microphone here. So what I can do is, when I talk, you can see that it's showing me the VU meter that's picking up my voice. I push the record button and I can speak. And it comes out of the robot. And you can also do things like change your voice. You can add different effects to make it sound like you're a robot. So we won't get into that. There's also the soundboard, which allows you to play music or different effects.
So I make my sound, I talk.
And I have an MP3 I've added to it here, so the robot can play the song. And there's also something too for speech, which is a speech recognition control. And under here, you can choose speech recognition, and you can now give your robot voice commands. So I'm going to click the configure button, and as you can see, there's a bunch of commands already here. We can add our own commands in if we wish. So right now, there's basic commands such as robot, move forward, robot, stop, robot, turn right, robot, move forward, robot, stop. So you can continue adding commands and controls to be able to customize what you want your robot to do. So it's pretty cool that we've created all these different controls to allow people to build.
Sorry, start over from it's pretty cool or whatever.
Okay, so it's really cool that we've added so many controls to make Easy Builder a customizable interface for people to be able to customize the robot. The features and all the different controls we have here are not things that I thought up. They're not things that people at Easy Robot have thought up. We crowdsource the ideas by talking to our community. We're in 120 countries. We have thousands and thousands, actually almost close to 10,000 customers around the world in 120 countries. And they come to our forum and they ask us questions like, can you make my robot do this? Or can you make my robot do this? So we continually add features based upon the community's requests. So all of these features actually come from community requests. So if you got yourself an Easy Robot and you bring your Easy Robot home and you're trying to make it do something and you can't figure it out, you come to the forum and ask one of us and we'll help you out. So Easy Robot started by trying to help people. And here, let me show you something. Check this out. So this is our kind of our shrine of where Easy Robot began, from where it was to where we are now. And it all started with an Engadget post that Engadget picked up a Wall-E robot that I had built. And they said that we were making a kit that allows people to build their own robot. So this is the kit that we started with. This is from 2 years ago we created it, and we just discontinued it about 6, 7 months ago, 8 months ago. And it had an old circuit board and camera and servos and stuff. And the concept was to show people how to build a robot. So we got in a lot of media over the past 2 years, and everything from popular science, which we've been in, to on the cover of Venture magazine. This is actually kind of a funny story. Is one of our friends was in India and picked up this magazine, and we were in it, and they never even told us. So it's kind of neat to find yourself in magazines out of complete surprise. The magazine that we were first featured in was actually Make magazine. One of the editors from Make contacted me about 2 years ago now and asked if I can help write an article on to show people how to build robots from toys. So this was the original circuit board that I had created that I was selling to people to build robots. However, they thought they wanted something a little bit more professional. So we had created this one. And we sold this one through their website and through a bunch of different sources. And that funded the line of different circuit boards we've created since. And we've gone smaller with different tinier ones, etc. So I've already showed you what the Easy B4 looks like. And it's 10 times more powerful, 100 times more powerful, obviously, than these ones. But it's really neat to imagine that all of this started from just a concept of wanting to build a robot. Everything from building robots out of Kleenex boxes. This is a Kleenex box with our circuit board inside of it, and it has toilet paper rolls for arms. And if you look at this and kind of laugh and think it's a toilet paper box robot, but the guts that are inside of it use our technology. So somebody who built this actually has a robot that can see your face, understand voice commands, talk to you. You can control it from anywhere in the world over your phone. So it's amazing to imagine that this Kleenex box has as much power as a NASA robot, and it was put together with a hot glue gun. So this is kind of the shrine. This is where we came from, and it's really neat to imagine how our product is being used in education, in businesses, etc. So that's kind of the intro to what we're doing, and I know that we're going to be doing a lot more organic videos like this. So I'm DJ Sures, and see you around.